Hey everyone, Brantley the Gulf Coast Treasure Hunter here. Today we're going to be looking at some wheat cents and some Indian head cents. But these aren't just any wheat cents and Indian head cents. These are key dates. A stack of key dates. Have you ever seen so many key date and semi-key dates and better date red coins? They're not worth anything because they're all fake. Stay tuned. I'm going to show you some details about these coins so that you can avoid paying for something that is junk, thinking that you found a treasure. We're going to spend most of our time under the dino light tonight taking a look at these coins so you can see them in nice clarity, close up, and some of the details on them. But I want to take a look at some of these. If you were to see these, they look nice. They look lustrous. Now, some of these look kind of fake. Like this one is clearly fake. It even says copy on the reverse. But some of these are more convincing. That one there, is that a 1909 SVDB? That's in like AU, mint state condition, brown with some corrosion to it. Is this a 1909S? Some of these are not even that good of dates. Here's a 31D. I mean, that's a semi-key date, but it's not super great. So we're going to take a look at these, and I'm going to help y'all to understand why these are fake and why you should avoid and be careful when buying key dates, semi-key dates, and even some more common dates. We're going to see a couple more common ones that are just in better condition in this lot, and they're fake too, because they will fake anything that they can make a buck on. We're going to start off this session with the big guys. First off, here is a genuine. Now, it's like fine details because it's cleaned, polished, whatnot. This is a genuine 1909S wheat cent. As you can see, there's no VDB on it. It's in garbage condition, but it's real. That is a real 1909S. That's what the S should look like, and this is what the details on the coin should look like, and in better condition, a lot better than this. We're going to start off with an 09S wheat cent. And first off, I want y'all, you can't see this, but the rims on this coin are sharp. They should not be sharp like that. It feels weird. When you hold it in your hand, it doesn't feel right. This is a pretty well struck example for the ones that we're going to look at tonight, but it's still wrong. First off, let's look at the letters in God We Trust. Very wonky, very inconsistent. There's a lot of thickness where it should not be. This coin has just, I mean, if you look at that U, you would almost say that looks like it should be doubled, because it kind of is. The N, the G, the O, the D, all of it looks just wrong. When we go over to the date, we can see the date looks kind of weird, but it's really that mint mark that looks so strange. Take a look at that thing. It's massive. Not only is it massive, but it's kind of like italicized, kind of twisted almost. It just doesn't look like that natural, boxy S that you should see on a 1909S. Look at that thing. It's nice, boxy, and it's got a shape to it, where this thing is kind of a distorted little blob that kind of goes everywhere. When you look at the letters of Liberty on the original, on the genuine, and when you look at In God We Trust, you'll see they're very uniform, they're very consistent. They look like a professional coin, whereas this, it looks a little bit wonky. I mean, look at that R. The line on the R is kind of thin. As I said, once again, the motto is completely wrong. And the coin itself, even this circulated example, you can see clear definition and you can see clear details in the coin, whereas this one here, it's just kind of muddled together. It's kind of flat in areas. It's got a weird die break up there in Lincoln's forehead, some kind of a die line or something. It's just very strange. When we flip it on the reverse, this is actually one of the better reverses of these fakes. It actually doesn't look that bad, and this could easily trip somebody up. But when you look at those details like in the wheat stalks, you start to see they run together. They're not consistent lines. There's no sharpness around them. You start to see there's like it kind of blends together on the outside edges. They're kind of wavy. They're not straight or consistent. It's just, it doesn't look right. That U in United is too far away and is really thick. Let's take a look at the U in United. On a genuine scent, I don't have a 1909 that looks good, but let's look at one on a different scent and just kind of, is a nice BU steel scent. And oh, that's bright. Wow. Let's turn that down a little bit. As you can see, that U looks nice and uniform and consistent. This one does not. It looks very, very thick. All these letters are the same shape and size, practically. These are not. That E in United is very messed up. This one, as I said, the reverse isn't bad. Just looking at the reverse, it would slip past a lot of people as just a circulated coin. Taking a look at that obverse, they didn't quite get the S right at all, and they didn't get a lot of the other details right, but they got it close enough. This one's dangerous, y'all. If this popped up in an album and you were going to buy the album, would you spot this? Would you be able to notice that that 09S is fake and is worth absolutely nothing? Whereas this one, although damaged and everything else, is worth something because it's real. Would you be able to spot the difference? All right, let's go on to another one. This time, we're going to... the same manufacturer made all of these coins. Because here's one, this is another 1909S. This one happens to be a fake VDB. The reverse on this one's terrible. Look at that wheat stalk. Oh my gosh. It's like quadruple thickness on the left side. It's absolutely terrible. As well as the lettering up top are doubled. If you spotted this kind of look to a coin, you say, oh, that might be a double die. But there are no double dies on an 09S VDB. Those wheat stalks on the right side, the wheat, the lines, the grains, they're all muddled together and kind of flat. It doesn't look right. Once again, this one has a sharp rim. They did not bother to do anything to this rim to make it remotely resemble a genuine coin. This one's a lot flatter in its strike, so you can notice that it does not have as much definition. Once again, you can barely see it in the midst of all the dirt, and that's probably the reason they made this one dirty, because they wanted it to blend in. But that S is twisted. It's not genuine. Once again, it's not that nice, consistent shape, squared up shape of an S. And once again, we have In God We Trust looks just flat out wrong. It's not there. You can see the thickness in the N, in the O, in the D, in the G, in the U, in Trust. It's very wrong. Let's once again get that genuine one up here for comparison. See that sharpness, that boxiness to the S. It's consistent. It's together. It's compact. It's not spread out and italicized. Liberty is nice and consistent in its thickness across the board. We see In God We Trust is shaped appropriately. And Lincoln, even though this is a circulated coin, Lincoln's face does not look like garbage. That's one benefit to seeing a circulated coin. I can show you all what it should look like on its worst day. Well, it could get worse. It could be in good condition or AG or something like that. But this is a pretty well circulated and cleaned coin. It's not a good one. So, here's the last one we'll look at. And this one is just flat out awful. Look at the strike on this. I'm going to try and turn down the brightness just a touch. It doesn't want to pick up because it's too shiny. But the strike is just terrible. Very flat, especially in the neck, around the mouth. It's very flat. You can see the luster because it didn't even like strike very deep on some areas that are recessed. It's just not there. The 1909, the date is too thick. I mean, it's even too thick for the FS1102 double die you'll see on the 1909 VDB cent. It's just way too thick. The S, once again, here we see clearly what the counterfeiter's S actually looks like. This italicized, twisted, angled down on the lower serif monstrosity that supposedly is a mint mark. It doesn't look anything like a 1909 estimate mark. And that's what's so strange. They did so well on some of these details. On this one, they have a big old hole in the O and G. I mean, in God, you can see a big old, I mean, just a missing portion in the O. They messed up on that one pretty bad. You can see some little details to it. But they're, for how much they got right on these cents, for however much they got right, that mint mark is so horribly wrong. This one has, again, a sharp rim, which if you had a sharp rim on a genuine one, it might actually be a proof, but it wouldn't be on an S. But if you had a Philadelphia with a sharp rim, there's a chance it could be a proof. But this one we can see there's a, this just is a terrible, terrible fake. The reverse on this one, we have a little bit extra thickness on the wheat stalks. Some of the letters look kind of bubbly on this one, like the N and United, U. United States of America just all over doesn't look right. Pluribus unum doesn't look too bad on this coin. It's not terrible. This is someone who's really perfecting their art in counterfeiting, because there's so much that's right about this coin that would make somebody at first glance just say, oh, it's real. 1914S is not a key date. It's a better date. And in mint state, it would be a really good date. But this one's wrong. Look again. Once again, we see that tilted S mint mark of this, trademark, it seems, of this counterfeiter. And notice that date, 1914. Now I'm going to move a genuine 1914 S into frame here. Look at that 4. It's nice and uniform shape on that 4, and there's a nice even gap between the 1 and the 4, and the 1 even kind of moves a little bit closer to the 4 than to the 9, whereas on the counterfeit example, it's closer to the 9, and that 4 is open in the center, almost closer to a 1944 shape of a 4. Notice the Liberty. Liberty's nice and squared up and nice and, it looks like a professional coin. This does not. It's all bubbly, flattened out, kind of twisted. And God We Trust isn't too bad on this particular fake, but it doesn't look like the real thing. Of course, this one's circulated, so it has seen its day and has some hits to it, so it's not great. And the reverse, the genuine reverse, it looks like a Lincoln wheat cent. Look at the detail in the wheat stalks. They look consistent. They look professional. They look like something the mint made. Look at this. Look at the details in United States of America, how muddled it is, like in the U and the I, the A and the M in America. It's just kind of flat. It doesn't look right. The wheat stalks are not well defined. They're a little better than some of the other ones we've looked at, but they're not well defined. And once again, that rim is wonky. Very wonky. It has almost like a shelf on that top portion. But these rims, like these edges of this coin, I can't focus it. It looks like a modern cent, like a modern proof cent rim. Let me see if I can focus that for y'all so y'all can see it. Look at that. That's not how it's supposed to be. Look at the rim on this one. See how it's got a little bit of a rounded nature to it? That's how cents come out, because planchets are rounded on the top. Here's a uncirculated cent, 43 steel. I just happen to have it sitting over here, and this is genuine. See, you have a nice rounded rim to it on the top. That's how it's supposed to look. Now, this counterfeiter was smart. In some of these examples, they noticed they were messing up on the rim of the coin. So they started grinding them down. Let me see if I can find an example of one of those that's ground down. There we go. They tried to fix the problem. See how that is rounded? Now they've gotten it rounded out. Now it looks right, right? Well, let's look at it a little bit closer. And we'll notice that still, once again, these rims are not Some of them are a little bit rounded out. This one is. But you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. You can see that they're rounded because they've been ground down. They're not they're not proper. They're not the way they're supposed to be. Now this 1913S, another not key date, but a better date, especially if you get in a mint state red like this one's trying to copy. It's kind of weird. Once again, you have a weird wonky S, but look at that 3. My goodness, a 1913S with that weird looking 3. That's absolutely horrible. Let's see what I don't have a 1913S in front of me right this second. I got a 1913D right here and a flip I'm going to pop out. While we're looking at that 3, let's glance over at Liberty and see how flat and just nasty that looks. Nothing on a Lincoln wheat cent should look like that. Here's a 1913D. 1913S is going to look the same, just with a different mint mark. That's what it's supposed to look like. And this is a circulated example, VF. If this is a mint state example, you should never see that kind of detail when this is what a VF example, maybe even fine actually, a VF might be pushing it, but it's a weaker example. Just look at the bow tie. See all the detail there and in the shirt? Come over to this one. It's just lacking. It blends into the field. It's so bad. Terrible strike on it. Liberty is consistent on this one. Liberty's not on this one. And God We Trust is kind of muddled a little bit. On this one, it's nice and sharp. That 3, I mean, that's a telltale right there. Look at that weird looking 3. They just didn't know what the 3 was supposed to look like, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't look like that, that's for sure. Weird 3. Let's look at the reverse of the fake. Looks like a lot of the reverses, they spent some time on these, but they didn't quite get it right. It's washed out in a lot of areas that it shouldn't be. It's just too weak. Whereas a genuine one, this is a VF example. The reverse is nice-ish, but you can see all the details on the reverse. But this one you can see much more detail, much more definition than this. This is supposed to be mint state. It's just rounded out. Next one up, 1915S. Once again, look at that weird little mint mark. Thickness in the date. Liberty's wrong. This one they didn't strike the mint mark as deeply or as strongly as they should have. Didn't come out right. Extra thickness in the bottom stem of the wheat stalk on the right. It's just, once again, another fake coin. Alright, what's up next? Ooh, here's a fun one. Another key date, 31S. This one, mint mark looks a little bit better, honestly. It's not right, but it looks a little bit better. It's at least smaller, but look how thick that date is. Once again, too thick. I don't have a 31S sitting around. I wished I did, but let's see what I do have. I'm sure I have something cool in a flip I can pop out. But look at those letters and the numbers on there. Just look at it. I'm going to brighten that up just a touch. Look at that 35. It's small. It's consistent. The 30s are going to be like that. Once again, it's going to be well struck. It's from the mint. Even weak struck Lincoln cents are going to have crisp details. It's not going to muddle it out to where you can't even tell who it is on the coin hardly. I mean, this is just disgusting. Everything about this coin is fake. Once again, we have really thick letters, and In God We Trust. Liberty's all muddled. 31 is just, 1931 is too thick. S is wrong. The reverse, once again, looks better than the obverse. Those are too thick on the wheat stems down there. It's just too thick. Just so many things wrong with it. Now, how do I avoid getting a fake wheat cent that's going to cost me a lot of money if I grab a wrong one? How do I avoid that? Well, first things first, with this kind of stuff, with stuff that's like here's a 1914D. Once again, just doesn't, I mean, it's just too washed out. But this one would probably be pretty convincing to most people if you didn't know what a 14D is supposed to look like. It's actually kind of consistent in the shape of the 14 on this one versus the last one we looked at, but that D mint mark is wrong. Also, the details on this coin, "In God We Trust," are wrong. Liberty's not terrible, but it's not right. So, how do you avoid this? Well, the first thing to do is to know what a coin's supposed to look like. Know what a Lincoln wheat cent looks like. That way, when you get a mint state Lincoln wheat cent in, and it looks weird because it doesn't look like anyone you've ever seen before, you can start questioning it. Know what a circulated one's supposed to look like. Also, it's important to get good resources so that way when you have one like this come in, you can look at the mint mark and know what the mint mark's supposed to look like to begin with. Or when this guy comes in, you can say, oh yeah, that's what the mint mark shape is supposed to be for 1913. Or when that S looks like that, you'll say, yeah, that looks right for the S. And the positions about where some of them end up being on the 09S. If it was an 09 SVDB, you'd want to play around with the mint mark location too, because there's only a few mint mark locations. But on the 09S, yeah, that's what the mint mark's supposed to look like. And knowing what the details of the coin in general are supposed to look like. And when you do that, with the more coins you handle that are real, the less likely you are to look at something like this and say, oh, that's a better coin. Because it's not a better coin, it's a fake coin. Or look at something like this. 22 plain. Now first off, this one looks weak. But there's a lot more going on with this one. This one's actually one we should definitely look at. First off, here's a great indicator something's fake. A weird random die crack running all throughout the coin on a key date. You should be able to find another picture of another example having those random die cracks running throughout it. That's just not a thing. Also on the 22, the second two should be stronger than the first one. You're never going to have that first two stronger than the second one. This one's in mint state. There's no hint of a D there. So that should be a weak first two and a stronger second two. Also, up here in trust, there's supposed to be weakness in the center letters of trust that's not present. You see the weakness in the T in trust, and you don't see it elsewhere. And once again, we have the same problems of seeing some weird anomalies on this die, weakness in the strike, that just shouldn't be there. You shouldn't have that weakness in the strike. The reverse of the coin is strong. If you got this coin, you thought it was real, you would say, wow, that's a 22 plain, strong reverse. Once again, we have what appears to be doubling on those wheat stalks. It's not the right thickness. And we have just a lot of details of this coin. This reverse actually looks pretty decent. The U's not right. You can definitely see kind of some spread and doubling in that U and the O of. Those aren't right. But there's a lot they did get right on this coin, and that's scary. But looking at that reverse in hand right now, it looks like, just at first glance in hand, that reverse looks like a red-brown wheat cent to me. And that's what scares me. And when I get it under a loop, I can tell that's not quite right. But when I look at it in hand, that reverse is good. That obverse is garbage. It's fake. Some of the new tactics that the counterfeiters are using, or computer-generated, laser-engraved dies, all that kind of stuff, it's horrible. And we're seeing more and more counterfeits coming out of China, out of other countries, where it's not even illegal for them to make them. It's perfectly legal for them to make them. And in the U.S., they're getting bought and sold. And you need to watch out. If you have a high-end coin you want to buy, you need to either get it from someone who's a reputable dealer who you trust has been in the business long enough to spot what's real and what's fake, or you need to get it in a slab, because you don't want to just buy something willy-nilly if you don't know how to identify and spot fake coins, because they're getting really, really good. We're going to look at a few more and then we're going to wrap it up. I just wanted to make sure y'all got a good sample of all of these. Once again, 10S. That S is once again wrong. You can see it, sharp rim. Reverse. Once again, it's not too bad. Now here's one that's interesting. Check this out. It's a 33D. Now you can see that 33 is wonky. That thing is twisted. 9, 3, and 3 are messed up. Liberty is messed up again. The strike on Lincoln's bust is not terrible, but it's still kind of messed up. And that D is just weird. I mean, it's like a comical look to it almost. But this is not meant to be comical because this is not intended to be a copy. This is a counterfeit. Yeah, but that 33D, I mean, it's in mint state. Yeah, that's a little bit better date, but it's not that good. It's a 33D. I mean, I picked up my example for not that much when I was working on my Lincoln Cent set. Wait, is that a... Oh, let's see if that... Is that a... Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Look how it flips. So you might even try and buy that as an error for a rotated die, because that reverse die was not aligned properly when they made that, because that thing flips with a nice turn to it. It's fake. Reverse once again looks pretty decent. And here's another one that's just weird. 17D. Yeah, in mint state they do pretty good, but not that good. This is another example of where other countries are willing to fake anything they can make a buck on, and they're going to make some bucks on a 17D because in mint state they still are pretty decent coin. Now this one doesn't look mint state, it looks more AU, and it does look kind of, once again, it's flat and muddled. It's not what a coin should look like. You see the date. The date's weird. Even if you take away the date and the mint mark that's just funky, that Liberty looks wrong. God We Trust is kind of muddled. Lincoln just doesn't look right. And once again, wow, look. They couldn't even get the die alignment right. And this one does look kind of muddled on the reverse, more so than most of the ones we've looked at. Just doesn't look right. It's not a genuine coin. So, it's just depressing. Just to give a little backstory about what happened and how we acquired all of these fake coins, we had someone who inherited a collection that came into the shop. They didn't know that the coins were fake, and they had them in albums with a bunch of genuine coins as well. And when you start seeing full albums, complete albums of Lincoln Cents with a bunch of key date spots filled, you have to keep an eye out. And that raises some red flags, and it's worth investigating and taking a closer look. And me and my boss, we looked very carefully at these coins, and we plucked out over about a roll and a quarter of fake key dates. Spent the time this morning adding up just how much these coins would be worth if they were real. And since a lot of them are mint state red, that does jack the price up pretty good, especially the 22 plains. If the 22 plains, especially the ones that are brilliant red, were genuine, that would be a lot of money. And so I think that if someone were to think these were real, and if they were real and were able to get into a slab, you're talking somewhere in the $500,000 range for those tubes of coins. I'm really hoping that this person did not buy them as genuine. I'm really hoping that they knew they were fake. Some people like to just fill coins with fantasy coins. Maybe they had an album that, or in this case, a bunch of albums that weren't complete, and they wanted something to put in there without spending thousands of dollars to be able to fill some spots. So I'm hoping this person knew they were fake. Although I highly discourage people from putting fake coins in albums to begin with, or even acquiring them, because it does contribute to the counterfeiting market, and it does contribute to the bigger problem of counterfeits being traded among coin collectors. If you do decide that you want to put some coins that aren't real into your album to fill some spots that you know you aren't going to be able to fill because of the cost or whatever reason, make sure somebody knows. Make sure they're marked. There's several reasons. First, you don't want your loved ones wondering after you're gone, did they pay too much money? Also, you don't want your loved ones going to a coin shop thinking, oh my gosh, I've got something big. And they get there and find out that they're not real. That's a big disappointment, and I feel horrible every time I have to tell somebody that their coin isn't real, especially if it's one that I know they've paid money for. Sometimes, like the ones we looked at today, when you really know what they should look like, they just don't look right. But a few of those, as I said, were pretty good. The reverse of that 1922 plane, that one would have tripped me up if I just saw the reverse without really looking at it closely. It was pretty good. The obverse, not so much. It was pretty horrible. But you want to make sure you know what the coins look like. I highly recommend, if you're going to buy key date coins, go ahead and pay the money and get one that's in a slab. It's worth it. That way you know for a fact that 22 plane has not had the mint mark ground down. If you get a 1914D, go ahead and buy it in a slab. You can get a lower end example in a slab for not a whole lot of money compared to what you would lose if it was fake. Think about it that way. Would you rather spend a little bit more money up front getting a good coin that is real in a slab, or spend a little less money and risk it being completely worthless? I recommend going with the first option. That second option is a big gamble, and it's just not worth it unless you're really, really good at spotting fakes and knowing what the real ones should look like. So go ahead and get a slab. It's worth the investment. You're protecting yourself from something that you can lose a lot of money on. And be careful out there with even more common dates. As you can see, they are being faked. And I've seen everything from a 1957D wheat cent to these 1909 SVDBs that are fakes. I've got a Liberty V nickel, common date, in the box that is fake. It's a $2 coin. It's circulated. It's a $2 coin. So be careful out there. Watch what you're buying. Know what you're buying. Do your research and learn as much as you can about the hobby so that not only you'll enjoy it more, but you'll protect yourself from bad investments. Thanks for watching. I really hope this helped y'all out, and y'all have a great day.